and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Louise Nichols. I'm a textile artist and I live in Cornwall, and this is part 3 of the 16 Christmas block quilted hanging. Okay, so here we go then with part 3 of the stitch along. Okay, so we're going to be looking at Christmas trees today, doing the Christmas trees. So far we have done the stocking and we've done the holly, and then today we're going to be looking at both the Christmas trees that are on the 16 block hanging. So I've already ironed my interfacing on the back, and hopefully my phone will keep recording this time, and I think I've got all the numbered threads this time as well. Okay, so stitch diagram. Now, wouldn't you have thought, so this was the first one, look, holly stocking. Wouldn't you have thought that the next design along, because it was the tree, that would be the one on the sheet? Well, it's not. Of course it's not. This is on another one. So here we are with the Christmas tree. So I'm just going to bring the original in. So this is the first one. So this is on the top row, this one here. And then there's another one right in that bottom left-hand corner. So we're going to stitch both of those. They're slightly different colorways, so I'm going to tell you the threads and everything for both of them. Now, for those of you who have bought the full kits where you get the beads and everything, there is a little difference in the kit. I haven't put these little buttons in. The other one's got a sorry, knocked the camera there. This one's got a creamy coloured button in. I haven't put those in. I find these really difficult to get hold of, and I didn't want it to limit the amount of kits I could make. So we'll be stitching a red wooden bead onto the top of both the Christmas trees. So just in case you're thinking, oh gosh, no, she's not put the little tiny buttons in, that is deliberate, okay? And no stitching any beads on today. That will all be done at a later time. Okay, so we're going to start by cutting out our bits of felt. I'm not going to be using Bonder Web this time. If you want to trace through the shapes as we have done on the previous 2 blocks, that is absolutely fine. If you want to make yourself a template, that's absolutely fine as well. But what I'm going to be doing is just cutting out by eye. So the first one, we'll do the grey strip at the bottom and then this red section as well. And this is for the olivey coloured print. We're going to do that one first. So I think that is wide enough, my little bit. Yeah, so I'm just going to neaten this edge off here. And then I'm going to cut, I think I'm just going to, yeah, the strip's about that wide there. So I'm just going to carry on cutting down there. And then it sits about there. There's a little gap between the felt at the bottom and the edge of the print on that top bit there. So I'm just going to snip that off there. I'm just going to check that's not too wide. Just going to take another little edge off there. That's it. There we go. So that's that bit there. And at the same time, I'm going to do the green one. Now, if you want to now use this as a template, put it onto your green. So the grey, actually, let me just tell you as well, I mean, it's quite straightforward. It's not like there are different shades, excuse me, of grey in this, but it's felt C for the grey. The green is B and the red is A. So you could use this as a template now and cut yourself another strip. For the other Christmas tree. There we go. So we've done them both there. And then this little section that sits in here, it does overlap some of these lines, so don't think it's got to fit in into one of these spaces. It sort of overlaps. But again, if you want to cut different shapes out, that's absolutely fine. So it's about that wide there. I'm going to go for that. There. Excuse me. And it sits just there so that you've got cream or beige. This is a beigey coloured fabric. This is again that linen rayon, but it's a beige rather than a cream. But yes, so you just want to leave yourself that gap, top and bottom. I'm quite happy with the width of that, so I'm now going to just trim it off so it fits inside the tree. And I'm leaving a little gap down that edge there, look, as well. And when I cut this side off, I'll be doing the same. So the felt doesn't go right to the edge. You've got a border all the way around the outside. And then again with that bit now, you could use that as the template to cut the other bit. Let's see if I can squeeze one out of there, look. And hopefully, there we go. Okay, right, I'm happy with that. So a bit of Pritt stick on the back. Again, you've got these slightly pointy corners here. So what I'm going to do is just make sure I've got plenty of glue, plenty of Pritt stick or whatever fabric glue you're using on those points, and it just helps to hold those fibres together when you're stitching around the outside. Now when you come to stick these long strips down, if you're using Pritt stick, just be careful that you don't stretch the felt as you're putting the glue on. I try and sort of put the glue on going that way. If you do it going that way, you end up with a slightly stretched bit of felt. Okay. So I'm just putting a bit on either end and then just a little bit in the middle as well. Okay, I think we're ready to stitch. So for both of them, around the outside of the felt, we're back to our number 1 thread, which is the Gutterman shade 111, and on your stitch diagram, again it's those little tiny lines around the outside of the sections where the little F's are. So I'll get my needle threaded up. And what I'll do is I'll start stitching this, but then I'll bring you back in at the end when I've stitched both of them. So I'm going to start on the, actually no I'm not, I was going to start on the bottom, but I'm just going to show you stitching around these points actually, in case you're a little bit worried about where to do your stitches. So I'm going to start on this edge instead here. So again, even though it's on a slope, I still like to keep my stitches going straight across. So I'm going to come up just inside the felt and back down on the outside edge, making a nice straight stitch. So we'll make our way down this edge, again keeping those stitches straight. Now if you want to have slanty stitches, that's absolutely fine as well. I'm only telling you how I do it and how I like mine to look, but you can stitch it however you like. If you want to do running stitch all around the outside, that's absolutely fine as well. So you can see I've come up to this corner here, so I'm now going to turn it, and I'm just going to do a little tiny stitch just in there, and that just keeps that little point held down. Okay, and then just carry on along that bottom edge. So I'm going to stitch all these bits on now, all these pieces of felt, and I'll be back with you once I've done that. So I'm coming to the end now. And that's all the little up and over stitches done. So I'll tie off at the back, and if you want a little bit more detail about the stitches, any of the stitches that I'm going to be doing on this block, as well as the tying off at the back, then go back to videos 1 and, well, most of the information's in video 1. I just don't want to repeat myself too much in this stitch along. So okay, so there are both of our Christmas trees with all the felt stitched down. So the next stitch we're going to be doing is the couched stitch. So it's this one here, so where it runs along the top of the felt there, and then there are 2 lines of it on the Christmas tree itself. So for the olivey coloured tree, the line going across is pale grey. So that is the DMC 415 size 8. If you have the full kit, it's thread number 3, and it's just a pale grey really. What have I done with my, oh there they are, snippers, there we go. These things are great, aren't they? I love them. I just think it's so much easier than picking up a pair of scissors and having to get your fingers through the holes there. Right, oh, just a little bit. So we're going to do 1 long stitch across that bottom bit there, and on your stitch diagram again it's that one with the kind of dots and dashes almost. Okay, so you want to get this sort of fairly central to that bit of felt, so it's up to you whether you want to again make a mark or put a pin in just so that you know that you're in the middle. I'm just going to kind of do it by eye, like that. Pull it across so I can see I want it to go back in about there. And that will do me. Take my needle out and tie a knot to hold it nice and securely. And I'm going to do that on the other tree as well. And on this tree, it's a dark grey. And now we're going to do, on the tree itself, there are 2 lines of couching. And that's using this red. They're both red on both trees. So this is the Anchor shade 20, size 8. On your reel of threads, it is number 8. So again, I don't really need to cut a lot off because it's only 4 short lengths really. Where's my needle? There it is. So the first line sits just on top of the little bit of grey print there. So that's one long stitch along there. I'm not going to carry it across, as I've explained before. And then the next one sits on top of that printed line there. So just a really short one there. So come up. And again, I'm leaving that edge there, not stitching into that. And back down there and tie off. So I'll repeat that exactly the same on the other tree. Okay, so there we are. Snip that off. So there's both trees. And next we're going to be stitching over the top of these long stitches that we've put in using the size 5. So that's the Torkel Perlé number 4 if you've bought the kit, shade 1243, and it's vanilla if you are wanting to buy it. And again, all the details about the threads are all on video 1, apart from the Gutermann threads, which I talked about in part 2, and they are from S.E. Simon's Haberdashery, which is a website, or anywhere. I mean, you get Gutermann threads everywhere, don't you? I'm just going to move this bowl out of the way because I keep catching it with my watch. Okay, so we're going to stitch over the top of what we've laid down. So I've got a little short length already left in my needle, so I'm going to use that first. So this little tiny top stitch here just has one in roughly in the middle. So you're coming up on one side and going back down on the other. And then I think I'm probably going to need to thread up again. I haven't got enough there to do anything with, so let me get another length of this. There I go, knotting it before I've even threaded it again. Getting ahead of myself. There we go. And again, if you want to space your little stitches out really evenly, again, you can mark it, but I'm just going to do it by eye again. So I'm going to start with one right on this towards the end here, back down, another one there, back down, another one there, and then the last one towards the end again, just there. Okay, tie off, and then I'm going to do it across this bottom stitch here as well. Again, if you want to do them evenly spread, then make a mark. So I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to do the other tree as well. Okay, so that's all the size 5 thread over the top. And then in between those stitches that we've just done, we're going to fill in with the general sewing thread again. So on the grey tree, on all of them, that's done using your Gutermann thread, your number 1, which is a creamy colour. But then on the olive coloured tree, because this is quite pale, this grey, this wouldn't show up, we're going to stitch in between with the Gutermann number 5 if you've bought the kit. If not, it's shade 35 and it's like a slatey grey. Okay, so in fact I'll start off with the slatey grey, and then I'll bring you back in when I have done all these small stitches in between. I'm knotting again, look, before I've even threaded my needle. Oh, what's going on? Oh, see the eye? Right, there we go. Okay, so I'll show you what I'm doing, and then as I say, I'll bring you back in once I've finished doing all these little stitches. So we're filling in these gaps here. You might get 2 or 3 stitches in between. So exactly the same as you were doing with the size 5 thread, you're coming up on one side of the thread and you're going back down on the other, like that. So it makes a tiny stitch. And of course it's not just the stitches, actually, it's creating texture as well, especially when you're stitching onto felt. So I'm going to squeeze one more stitch in there, like that, and then come up on the other side of that creamy one and start again. So as I'd said in a previous video, you can do this all in one go. So you put your needle in and then out, ready to start the next stitch. Again. So if you want to do a little catching stitch, or however you finish off on the back, that's absolutely fine. So then just give that, I like to give that just a little tug, and then if it's gone a little bit wibbly wobbly as you've been stitching, it'll just straighten it out. So there we go. Okay, so the next little bit of couching, one more final bit of couching, is on the trunk of the tree. Both are using the dark grey, the DMC 413. So again, thread number 2. So I'm just going to cut again a little short length of thread. Thread up my needle, knot in the end, and then, as I say, it's just this little distance here. So I'm going right in the middle of that line, and again, I'm not going right up to the edge of that print. I'm just going in there like that, so it leaves that line empty there. Okay, tie off on the back, and same again on the other tree. So just a little stitch in there. Like that. Tie off again. And then there's no thick thread over the top of these two lines. It's just the Gutermann cream number 1 again over the top. I'm going to cut a little bit more of that. And you're stitching over the top of the thread that you've laid down exactly the same way as you did with the other one. Coming up on one side of the thread and then going back down on the other, like that. Oh, nearly losing my thread out my needle there. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Just pop a couple of knots in there because it is a thinner thread. So we're on to French knots now. On the olive coloured tree, it is in the pale grey that we used to do the couching at the bottom, and on the other tree it's the dark grey that we used to do the couching at the bottom of that one. So let me thread, in fact actually, oh no, I don't think I've got enough in there. I was going to see if I could use this bit of dark grey, but I think that's too short for a French knot. Okay, so let me cut myself a little length of that. And it's just 2 French knots. So on your stitch diagram, it's where these 2 dots are here. single thickness of thread, and I'm going to go around the needle twice. Now again, if you want to make 2 marks, 2 dots where you're going to do your knots, then that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to do mine by eye. So come up, round the needle twice, the point of your needle almost back in where you came up, and then I slide that knot down and then push the needle back through like that. And then, because it's only a very short distance to the next one, come up, round your needle twice, almost in where you came out, slide your knot back down, push your needle through, so I keep my thumb on it so it doesn't get tangled up, and there's your 2 French knots. And I'm going to repeat that on the other tree with the DMC 413 thread number 2. They are a little bit higher up than the ones on the other tree, but I'm not worrying about that. So we're on to running stitch now. So there are a few lines of running stitch, and that's all showed on your diagram by these lines of like dashes, aren't they really? Okay. So I'm going to start with this one at the bottom here. So that's using a size 16 thread now, so it's Finca. The shade is 1996, and on your carded, if you've got the full kit, it's number 9. And for this, it's just one line of running stitch to sit above those felt blocks that you've done at the bottom. And for both trees, let me just check. Yeah, it is. But for both trees, it's using this red. So again, I'll just cut myself a short length off, get my needle, thread it up, and I'm going to do my 2 rows, one on this tree and one on the other one. And next, there are 3 lines of running stitch, and it's using this grey. So this is number 11. If you've got the kit, otherwise it's a Finca 16 again, and it's shade 8773. I'm going to use that off my reel that I've already got here. Getting caught in the other thread there. So if I can actually thread my needle, in fact I'm going to turn that around and use the other end where I've cut it. That's a nicer end. That's it. There we go. So knot the end, pop a couple of knots in on this one. So it's a line here, 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 and then a little one here. Okay, and the last little stitch at the top there, and you'll notice I didn't tie off at all with that. I've carried my stitches across this time. 2 knots in the back, and that's the grey running stitch done on both of the trees. And then the last little bit of stitching on both of these is using the cream, again a size 16 Finca thread, shade 3000 or 3000, number 10 if you've bought the kit. I'm going to use it from my reel that I've already got on the go. And this time it's there's a line of running stitch around the outside of the tree, and then also around the edge of the block, the print itself. Just not that. So let me just bring that original in again so you can see. So it's around the outside of the tree here, and then this like double line around the outside of the printed block. So when you're doing your tree, so it's not right on the edge here, it's just stepped away a millimetre or so. So I would start on one side of the trunk and go all the way round, and then you just finish on the other side of the trunk there. Okay, nearly at the end of there. Again, if you want to draw yourself a line that you need to follow with one of those disappearing fabric pens, if that helps, that's absolutely fine. Do whatever you feel you need to do to make it easier. Okay, so I'm now going to do the line around the outside of the tree. So I'm going to start here. Again, I'm not on the edge of the print. I've just come up a millimetre or so inside, and I'm going to do a line around the outside, and it's a double line, so when I get to here I'll just turn around and then come back again, and I'll do the same on the other tree. Okay, a couple of knots just to tie off there. And there we go. They're both our trees now all stitched. And as I said before, if you're wanting to put any beads, buttons, anything on, don't do that just yet. We'll do that at a later stage. So I would give these a press now with a bit of baking parchment over the top, and then pop them aside. And next time it's all about puddings. So we're going to be stitching this one next time. And again, there are 2 puddings, slightly different, I think, yeah, slightly different colourways. So I'll be doing the same as I've done with the trees and stitching them both at the same time. Okay, so thank you very much for watching again. I hope you're enjoying this, even if you're not doing the kit. You know, I enjoy watching people stitching, seeing things coming together, seeing how other people do things as well. You know, I don't think there's necessarily a right or a wrong way of doing these things. It's just the best way for you, isn't it? So, okay then, I'll see you next time.